My sister forced my wife to stop taking her medication. Now our baby's in danger. But my mom says it's not a big deal. I honestly don't even know where to start because I'm still shaking. My sister might have just endangered my wife and our unborn child's lives, and my mom is siding with her. What am I supposed to do with that? For context, I'm 26M, my wife is 28F, and we've been married for 3 years. She's 7 months pregnant with our first child, a baby we've wanted for years. My wife has a condition that requires her to take medication daily. I won't get into specifics, but it's a chronic issue she's had most of her life. Her doctor has been crystal clear that staying on her meds during pregnancy is non-negotiable. They keep both her and the baby safe, and stopping them carries serious risks. My sister, on the other hand, has been on this natural health kick for a while. At first, it was harmless, herbal teas, juice cleanses, whatever. But recently, she's gone off the deep end. She's joined these online groups full of people who believe medication is poison and that doctors are part of some big conspiracy. She's convinced she knows better than actual medical professionals now, and it's impossible to have a normal conversation with her. Everything turns into a lecture. 2 days ago, while I was at work, my sister, 32F, stopped by unannounced. Normally, that would annoy me, but I didn't think much of it. She and my wife get along well enough, so I figured they'd just catch up. But when I got home that evening, I immediately knew something was wrong. My wife was sitting on the couch, pale and fidgety. She didn't even look up when I walked in. I asked her what was wrong, and she just said, "We need to talk." My stomach dropped. She told me that my sister had spent the entire visit lecturing her about how her medication was poisoning the baby. That Big Pharma was lying to us. That my wife was harming our child by pumping herself full of chemicals. My sister was so relentless, so intense, that my wife broke down in tears. And then my sister said, "You can fix this. Just stop taking the pills. You don't need them." And here's the part that made my blood run cold. My wife listened to her. She told me she hadn't taken her medication that day and wasn't sure if she should keep taking it at all. She looked ashamed, like she expected me to yell at her. But all I felt was panic. I tried to stay calm and reminded her that her doctor prescribed the meds for a reason, that it wasn't safe to just stop taking them, especially not now. She nodded and said she'd start taking them again, but I could tell she was still shaken. She kept saying, "What if she's right? What if I'm hurting the baby?" It broke my heart. My wife has always been so strong, but pregnancy has made her more vulnerable, something my sister clearly took advantage of. I was furious. I called my sister immediately and asked her what the hell she thought she was doing. She didn't even apologize. Instead, she doubled down, saying she was just trying to protect her niece or nephew. She actually had the audacity to call me selfish for trusting doctors instead of doing my own research. When I told her to stay out of our medical decisions, she got defensive and hung up on me. I thought that was the end of it, just another fight with my sister. But then I called my mom, expecting her to back me up. Instead, she said, "Your sister's just trying to help. You're overreacting." Overreacting? My wife was in tears, terrified for our baby, because my sister played armchair doctor. And my mom thinks I'm the problem. I asked her how she could possibly defend my sister, and she just said, "You know how passionate she is about this stuff. She just wants what's best for the baby." I've been stewing ever since. My sister endangered my wife's health, potentially my baby's too. And my mom thinks it's no big deal. I feel like I'm living in some alternate reality where my family doesn't care about actual medical risks. My wife is back on her medication now, thank God, but she's still shaken. She keeps asking if I'm mad at her, and it kills me because she didn't do anything wrong. She was bullied by someone who should have been supporting her. I feel like I can't trust my sister or my mom anymore, but cutting them off feels so extreme. I want to protect my wife and baby, but I don't want to destroy my family over this. Update. I wish I could say things got better after my last post, but they didn't. If anything, it's like my sister and mom made it their mission to make everything worse. My wife's health spiraled, my family is completely divided, and I've hit my breaking point. Let me start with my wife. After everything with my sister, she agreed to start taking her meds again. I thought we were in the clear, but it turns out skipping even a single dose can mess things up. Her symptoms started creeping back almost immediately. At first, she seemed more anxious than usual, which I chalked up to stress. But then it escalated. Within a day or two, she was having trouble sleeping. She was jittery, emotional, and couldn't focus on anything. Her condition, again, I won't name it to protect her privacy, has always been manageable when she's on her meds. But without them, it's like the ground just falls out from under her. She kept saying things like, "What if the damage is already done?" And "What if I hurt the baby?" It was heartbreaking. We called her doctor, who was not happy. He explained that stopping her medication abruptly could have serious consequences, not just for her, but for the baby as well. He scheduled an urgent follow-up appointment, and sitting in that office, listening to him list out all the possible complications, I wanted to scream. This could have all been avoided if my sister hadn't decided to play doctor. And speaking of my sister, she wasn't done stirring the pot. After I confronted her and told her to back off, she went full social media warrior. She made a series of posts about how she saved her niece or nephew from being poisoned and how she had woken up the sheep, meaning me and my wife, I guess. She didn't use our names, but anyone who knows us could easily put two and two together. She painted herself as some kind of hero, while my wife and I were the villains, too brainwashed to see the truth. At first, I tried to ignore it. I figured it wasn't worth engaging with her nonsense. But then I started getting messages from extended family. Some were supportive, asking if we were okay, but others? They were parroting my sister's talking points. Why are you putting your baby at risk? Why can't you just try natural remedies? Do you really need those chemicals? One relative, an aunt I've always been close to, actually called me and said she heard my wife was addicted to pharmaceuticals, that we should be open-minded about alternatives. I almost lost it. I told her my wife isn't addicted. She's managing a medical condition with doctor-prescribed treatment. She tried to argue with me. I hung up on her. I have never done that before, but I just couldn't take it. And then there's my mom. Oh, my mom.